Well, there.
I want to catch up.
And then I think it's that I did read it like last year and then the time I did read after two reviews, but I had to make an edit.
Yeah, yeah.
I do, I do recognize some of its traits. And yeah, you have the. And I go, oh, honey, I'm hungry instead of you stop at that restaurant. And you'd be more careful usually. Apparently she already does every time.
Thank you, sir.
Well, and mom's.
I think about that.
Nowhere.
But I don't know. But that doesn't make me.
He's a junior and she's the eighth.
Right, but not.
Yeah. And my nose started. Oh, and Mary's not. And started working.
No, Mary's not gonna make it at all, so don't worry.
Okay.
Okay.
In Springfield. That's like one. Oh, yeah.
All right, oh, well, I'm gonna wait for Joel. Is Joel ready?
Yeah.
Okay, make sure. All right, I'm gonna call the October 9th Creswell School Board meeting in order. We have a quorum. Mary's not coming tonight, she's out of town. And then we will say the pledge. And then one meeting. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Right, we don't need visitors tonight, but I need this for at least here. We don't have anybody online, right? No, we're good. Okay, awesome. So,
I moved to approve the agenda.
Second that.
all right, all in favor? Okay. All right, moving along to the.
I moved to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Perfect. Is there any questions about that? Marilyn said that there was a lot of information there that we had to, okay, no question. That's good. Now our student representative. Welcome. We get two. We're excited.
Hi, once again, it's Elise Thacker. I'm a junior at Creswell High School. We just, over the past month, received our yearbooks. They're super fun. I meant to bring one, totally forgot it. I can try to bring one next meeting if you guys would like to see it. We had our fall sports pep assembly. It was super fun. We did a beach volleyball theme game. All of our participants dressed up and did football versus volleyball, and then we did girls soccer versus boys soccer, and then the winner, which is volleyball, like the staff, and it was pretty fun.
Staff one.
Oh, yeah. What? By 1 point, 1 point. That was a big comeback on their end. We just recently announced homecoming. I've been working really hard on that. Pretty stressful in leadership, all the stuff. Our theme is once upon a time. It's like a fairy tale theme, and then our dance is tangled theme. And then our hallways and floats, our freshman theme is Little Red Riding Hood. Sophomores have Beauty and the Beast. Juniors have the Little Mermaid, and seniors have Cinderella. So we're preparing for that. We're decorating Sunday from about 10:30 to 1 or 10 to 1. If you guys want to stop by and see the process. There's been a lot of components of that. There's the dance, finding the spirit week, all the activities, the dress up, making flyers for social media and send out. It's pretty hectic. We got some pretty good participation at our sports games. A lot of the students have been super excited to dress up for all the themes. Malachi is CSK, I'll tell you more about that. Tomorrow, a bunch of our seniors are going to the U of O for the college fair. I know a bunch of them are excited about that. And then we have a bake sale going on for Poetry Club soon. We had an NHS fundraising to buy fish tons for a local family in need. And then we have St. Halloween coming up later this month.
Yeah, for those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Malik. I stated, I'm the ASB Vice President at Creswell High School. I only got a few things for you guys, that we've been working on. Number one is, I should say, CSPN. We can start talking with, Mr. Stout, one of our teachers over there, and we're gonna start broadcasting the games. So we have a crew of Brady Pratt and Trent Derminer and myself, and we're gonna start going to the games, even if they're away, like going to the Pleasant Hill versus Creswell football game. And we're gonna start live streaming them out, so the community members can watch it, don't have to pay for NHS or whatever it is, because it can get expensive, and we want a way for the community to still be able to see the games, so. We're starting that up, for the home football game, for homecoming, we're partnering with the airport, and they're gonna do a flyover. Which I told Mike a little bit about, throughout the week, I've been talking to him about it, trying to get a plan. But they said they would buy smoke and drop smoke and do the whole thing, so, that's really cool. We're really excited about that, so, they'll come over during the national anthem. After that, yeah, it's just been a lot of assembly prep, we did the full-time assembly, that was a lot of fun. Just did the homecoming announcement video, which we filmed yesterday. And it was something, and that got released, and so the kids got to see that today. Yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces, and I feel like so much to cover.
Yeah.
We could probably go on for an hour of all the different things and all the little different things, but I think she did a pretty good job. Yes, one other thing, homecoming parade, I'll pass this around so you guys can see it, this is the parade route. We got to go deliver some flyers today, the community members were pretty excited, so that was pretty cool, they were all, yes, finally it's coming through, we were waiting on this. I was like, yeah, so coming through on the 18th. They got to see that, so.
Who's on homecoming for? Or has it been announced yet?
I think that the people who are on it found out today, but I'm not sure.
I have a document, I can pull it out if you want to see it later, but, yeah, no, it just literally got selected, I think, today, so that'll get announced in the morning announcements tomorrow. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Thank
you.
you.
You're doing a great job of announcing, keep it up.
Oh,
Malachi, how are our loud cups in your announcing?
How are what?
Our loud cups during your announcing?
Oh,
Are we,
I don't even know.
we'll try harder.
Yeah, just a little bit, we'll get a little bit more hyped up. Something on.
We'll try harder. Awesome.
Great. Yeah, we have another special presentation evening. Chanel?
Yes, so Mike asked me to present on some budget information in state school fund. I'm hoping this is what he was wanting and you guys were expecting. I know you guys have your meeting next month, so I'm just trying to keep that in mind. Hopefully this will be helpful information for you guys to take there. So let's just dive right in. So our 2025 budget is significantly higher than years past due to bond funds. So our total budget is 49.4 million, but for this presentation, I've divided it into two separate pots. So as you can see here, there's the total of 27.4, and the revenue that makes that up is listed there. And then the 22 million is very simple, it's the bond Austin seismic grant.
Sure.
So when I reference 27.4, you guys kind of know where I'm coming from. The 27.4 represents the amount it costs to run our district with the current amount of staff and then all the programs and services that we offer. So the sources of the revenue that equal the 27.4 are listed, with the largest single source being the state school fund at 10.4 million. The state school revenue funds 38% of that 27.4 million that it costs to run the district. So I wanted to walk through the funding calculations that the state uses to determine our allocation of the state school fund. So as you can see here, starting at the top, the ADMR is our per pupil number, which is an estimated number we talk about in the winter or the following year, and we turn in a report to ODE. So that is where that number comes from. So for 24-25, our enrollment is at 1,115. And then those programs that are highlighted in blue under it are different programs that we receive weighted points for to get to our ADMW, which is average daily membership weighted. So we have students in our ESL program, which some of you probably know is ELL or EL program. We have our IEP students. We have the students on an IEP above the 11% because the ODE does cap our sped, we can, because it says there we have 198 IEP students, they cap us at 11%. So students above that, they give us 35 points. Students in poverty, we have that number there, and students in foster care. So all in total, that's where it comes down to that 1332.4. You'll see that here.
Can I ask a question about that to make sure I'm really understanding? So I'm gonna state this and then you tell me where I'm wrong, in my understanding. Every student would be in this count.
Correct.
And then the ESL kiddos, we would receive an extra partial credit for them. It's
Correct.
not that the whole student only gets a half a point. Because they get their whole, okay, that's the same for all of the stars, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
And that's where you'll hear the terms, the ADMR and the ADMW.
yeah,
And state school fund formula is based off your ADMW.
okay.
So here at the top, it starts with that 1332, the weighted ADM. And they kind of just break this down. They go to the general purpose grant, which is, their formula number, their funding ratio. Also taken in with teacher experience, and that's how they come up with the $14 million figure. We also do reports, yeah.
Sorry, I think all of these details matter,
Yeah,
because when we're advocating, if there's adjustments to this formula, that's like what we need to understand.
totally.
With the teacher adjustment, a negative, how is that, a negative would mean they reduce our funding, or I'm assuming that means they reduce either our weighted figure or our funding because we have newer teachers.
Correct. So, and we have a negative because it's us compared to the state average.
Thank you. So there's a state average,
Yeah,
and we're below it, we're newer in terms of teaching staff. So how does that get factored in? Is it number of
so
months, numbers of years?
state average is 11.85
Okay,
and we are 11.49, which is where that negative 0.36 comes in. And then that's where they multiply it out, in the general purpose grant.
okay,
So if we were a positive, we would gain a little bit from that.
okay. So can I ask a question about that? Not funding, but like philosophy, because if we have more experienced teachers, they probably don't need as many supports in their classroom as if a brand new teacher coming in probably needs more help with figuring out what does classroom, like what does behavior management in a group of 20 or 30 kids look like for real? No longer dress rehearsing. So they would need more help, like you would need to send more help to a new teacher. So the fact that they're reducing our formula for a new, it feels backwards, right? Like a newer staff, wouldn't you want to provide more support to them?
We do, and there is a cost to it. And it comes out of the general fund. Now we provide mentors for our new teachers coming in, and we compensate them for that.
So this formula works backwards from what we experience in the classroom, right?
To a degree, I mean, we get paid on the average for that teacher.
Is this taking into account the longer they are, the higher cost they want for salary? That's all that does. Okay,
And ours is minimal, right? Like, we're talking less than a half a year. Like, if I look at the formula,
Correct.
we'd have to have significantly more experience for that ever to really turn into much dollars.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, I don't get it logically. I get the math of it.
Yeah.
I'm just wanting to understand,
Yeah.
does the money actually flow where we end up having to spend the money? I get the higher salary for
Yeah.
the longer term, and
Yeah.
that's probably what this is after.
Yeah.
But that's not where you end up, like. for a new, you still have supports on the other side. So,
But this is a really small amount of money, like this is,
yeah,
I mean, but it doesn't make sense.
I'm just going to drill on it.
I know.
okay, thank you.
Because, yeah, I mean, if you look at what you're adding there, you have a 1.0 and times it by $25, you're not getting much from that.
Yeah.
So,
A little baby amount. It actually doesn't even make sense why they
right,
would waste their time calculating.
but I do see your point there, Lacey, in
Yeah.
that thinking, but this, the sped piece, and I'll get to that, that's maybe more of a barrier, but. So once you calculate that general purpose grant, that $14 million figure, then you come in and you have to add in the transportation grant. Transportation grant is based off of last year's figures that we spent transportation and we are reimbursed at 70%. So we're paying 30% of all transportation costs, we're getting back 70%, so that's where the $888,000 comes in.
Is that actual costs?
Yes.
Okay,
And that's actual cost for all of transportation minus extracurricular.
Okay.
So mileage, time, all that extracurricular does not factor in our reports, because we do not get reimbursed for that.
Okay.
So that brings you to the 14.8. Then they subtract the local revenue, which is the bulk of that is property taxes.
Yeah.
So they're actually sending us for the state school, in the state school fund revenue is that 10.4 million. So, which I think sometimes I feel is a little misleading when you give the per pupil amount, but it depends which number you're looking at. So I just wanted to point out that 11,175 per ADMW is based off the 14.8 million. So that's what you're getting per student from property taxes and from the state school fund. So,
is the 11,000.
So it's the total formula, the
Yes.
1488,
Yeah.
then it's divided, that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense on the paper, but it makes sense.
yeah, and then what I wanted to point out on that 11% cap on sped is that every student, so we have 198 students that are considered sped, but they put that 11% cap on it. So we're only getting weighted points for 122, which essentially is cutting us short $784,000 in revenue.
Is that on the slide right before this?
This one here.
Yeah.
And so our, you know, our sped program is a spectrum, so some of our kids they stay here, but some of our kids are alt placements or need extra services, and so there's a group of sped students that are considered high cost. And so there is another grant that comes in from the state, the high cost disability grant, and you get reimbursed not dollar for dollar. I'm not exactly sure of their formula, I haven't figured that one out. But anything above $30,000, we can recoup from that high cost disability grant, just not dollar for dollar. But there's still, if you look at the 11,000 that we're getting per person, that 11,000 to $30,000, the district has to absorb. So between that and you're getting capped at that 11%, we're not fully funded by any means through this formula for our sped department.
When you add those numbers up, we're close to $1 million in the red in the sped department that we have to pull out of the general fund. That's where it ends up, and that's what we've been barking about.
Yeah.
To our legislators. That's what the superintendents have been talking about. To COSA, to advocate for and lobby for, is to get the sped
Yeah,
allowance up.
and that was that bill that made it like died in committee last session, but there's still energy around bringing that up. Can you go back one slide? Okay, so 198 students. Is that the total that we have, or is that the cap?
That's the total.
Okay,
They capped us and gave us weighted points at 122.
is the 122 cap number, is that a percentage, or is that 122 flat across any district?
It's 11% of our enrollment of 1,115.
Okay, so 11% of enrollment is what the cap is.
Yeah.
Okay, don't leave yet, I just gotta make a note, and I gotta, okay. Okay, so we have a total of 198, it's capped at 11%, and then is that saying that we get an extra 22%? Like the 122.65,
Correct,
like another 22% for the first 11%?
yes.
Would that cover, would the 22% cover then the full cost? So it would be 11,000 for the first and then another 22%, but that wouldn't cover if the average IEP is 30,000, even the 22% doesn't cover the first 11% anyway. Do you know that?
That would be a good number to break down. I don't look at it, because I don't know the average is 30,000. I just know we have a certain population of sped students that are well over 30,000.
Got it.
So those are the ones then that we're recouping anything above 30,000, but that in between, we are not.
Would you be able to, even if it's just in like one of the special reports for next month, get us like, what's the range? Here's the low cost for an IEP. Here's our highest cost. So just the statistical range. Here's the average. And then if there's any way of determining if the general population cost of 11,175 plus the extra 22%, if that covers the average.
Okay.
Cause my question is too, right? We know that we've got kids we don't receive extra for. So then anything above the 11,000 is on us. But then does the 22% cover it, or do we have a problem with the 11%? Like the kids
Yes.
that fall? Is that, okay. That's what I would love to understand in terms of costs of how that breaks down.
And remind me where we get the 35.3, the ones that are above 11%, how much do we get them?
Well, that, they're giving us 35 weighted points for that.
Okay, well,
But I'm not exactly sure.
I couldn't get it to math. Didn't understand how, like, where they came up with 35.3.
I'd have to look into that.
Okay. That's fine, as long as I just couldn't figure it out. I just didn't know
I
how they
think
came up
that's
with
the
that number.
mystery behind a lot.
Right, exactly,
of
because then, I mean, like, I did like the difference between 198 and 122.5, I guess it might be a percentage in there that they give us. But, I'm just curious.
Okay, well, any other questions about state school fund formula? Okay.
I might have more, but I'll email.
So, I know the largest cost we have in the business education is personnel. So this is a historical snapshot of the budgeted FTE over the last 6 years, including our current year. That significant increase that you see in 2021 was due to the Student Investment Act, also known as SIA. So to keep that newly added FTE sustainable, SIA and ESSER funds were used over the past 5 years. But it's important to note that ESSER is now gone. SIA is still here. So in this fiscal year, our total staffing cost, including all staff salaries, associated payroll costs and insurance equals 16.9 million. So that figure 16.9 is of that $27.4 million budget that I was talking about. So, the state school fund, that equals a total of 10.4 million in revenue. This equates to the state school fund funding 62% of our current 16.9 million in staffing costs, leaving a 38% gap in funding. Not to muddy the waters, but keep in mind, there's still $10.5 million in revenue needed for operational costs aside from personnel costs to operate the district at its current level of services. But for the purpose of this discussion, we're just going to talk about this gap in staffing costs at $6.5 million.
So 16.9 is with ESSER.
No, 16.9 is salaries, is personnel.
Of everybody that we have now,
Correct,
including staff on ESSER.
correct.
Okay.
So where do we get the $6.5 million in funding to pay for staffing that the state school fund doesn't cover? Grants. So grants are how we close the gap in the funding shortfall. We receive many grants, both federally funded and non-federally funded. And they all come with different strings attached. The list here has a note on who or what they applied to. Some of these grants take significant time to apply for, some are a contract that rolls over every year, we sign a contract. However, they all require extensive reporting for accountability. So the problem with the state school fund formula, allocating only 38% of our total revenue needed to operate our district, leaves us relying heavily on grants, which is soft money. So for example, here's the list of just some of the past grants that I know of. In my time the last 4 years, ones I can think of or were able to know that we rely on, for district operations and staffing. With the expiration of these grants, pivots have to be made. However, with the loss of ESSER, there is no funding to pivot that amount to. So if the state school fund does not increase to an adequate amount of funding, staffing and program cuts would be necessary.
Are you coming with us next month?
I'm not slated to, but can.
Is the ESSER grant the only one that we know of is going away, or are all of these ending permanently, or we just don't know about them?
All of these listed are ones we've had in the last few years, like ESSER, we've had ESSER 1, 2, and 3 for over $4 million. YTP, we've had annually, I don't know how many years, but my whole time we've been here, and it ended last year. ELL, the House bill expired 3 years ago, and we had that for multiple years prior, and that was about $100,000 a year. The CTE Revite grant, that was a large grant, but it was a one-time. Summer school we had for 2 years prior to ESSER funding, and that ended, and I think the state kind of viewed ESSER as a replacement for summer school grant, so. But again, now with ESSER, like, we need another summer school grant to keep operating our summer school program that we built. Staff retention grant was a one-time grant, and our grant for our homeless youth was a one-time grant. But these were all funds that we relied on, and most all but the CTE Revite grant were heavily for staffing.
And I know ESSER was federal funding, but what about the others, state or federal?
Well, YTP was federal, ELL, I'm pretty sure was state. CTE, summer school, staff were state, ARC was federal. So next, I would say those are like half and half.
Okay.
And that's kind of all I had, so.
Would it be fairly quick for you to put together a quick table on those past grants of like a rounded number of what we received over the time that we had it?
Yeah.
So that would kind of tell us which year it started. It went on for 3 years. It was $2 million a year or 50,000 a year.
Totally.
Just kind of a quick history would be helpful.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Chanel? Thank you. That was a great presentation.
Did you, I'm not sure I caught this or missed this. But the current grant that we're receiving, high school success grant, the SIA grant, and the total of those grants right there. Do you have a total amount of those grants?
I do. So currently for the in this current fiscal year, we are budgeted about 3.4 million in those grants that I listed.
So that's 3.4 million of the 16.9 that we need to fund to operate.
Okay. Like I'm very uplifting though.
Thank you, Chanel.
Yeah, I do appreciate it. That was really good and it did help me understand all that. So, we are moving on to Mike.
Okay, wake up.
Well, I'm.
All right, so, the highlights of my report, the seismic and bond projects are, we changed the schedule on the seismic project, but we're on schedule with the change schedule, so we're dialing it in here. Today I was over there and students saw that the paneling on the walls are going up in the courtyard on the west wall of the weight room. And, we should be seeing some paint going on here pretty quick. They were supposed to start pressure washing this week. I don't know when they're gonna pressure wash, but, we're working on them. And, the VFW Teacher of the Year Assembly at the middle school was a hoot. I mean, that was a good one. I really liked that, that event. And then, newer activities that I've been involved in are, down at the bottom of my list there. The ones at the top half are my standard activities for the month. And then my updates are in green, and you'll see that the majority of the updates are really going into the CHS.
Like we talked about this the other day, and I think, remind me if I'm remembering it correctly, the panels are going up and then there's temporary cover going up, right?
We have some canopies that are gonna be going up, yes.
Great, thank you.
But we're waiting until the hurricane passes.
Yeah, I mean, hey, makes sense.
We don't need them to blow around the courtyard.
So close to Sarasota, you never know.
Well, I just, when I think about what's happening here with our weather, what's happening there with that weather, it's like, oh my gosh, how could it get that? It's just terrible. But yeah, so they're going up. When are you planning to put those up when they're out of the courtyard, right? When,
Yes,
Mackenzie's done?
yes, yeah, there would be no reason, we would be in their way and they would be in their way. We have, 4 canopies that we use, that were actually purchased during COVID time. And they're in storage, so they should, if we have any gaps, we have other canopies we'll be putting in place as well.
Okay, so it'll kind of cover so the kids can move from area to area in that courtyard, that's the goal.
Yeah, they'll start at the storefront door front and work their way straight down towards the commons.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Do you know what the diameter of those are?
Well, they were, I want to say there's like 20 by 40.
Yeah,
Because they were allowed us to have outdoor, seating and eating that were required to eat during COVID, so they were used as a cafeteria.
20 by 40 is big.
That's
Okay.
big, good, cause I was visualizing like
It might be
that.
big.
Still pretty big.
Still big.
Early.
Like, we're gonna have like blue and red and candy canes.
Yeah.
No, that's better.
Thank you.
I trusted you, just, I'm visualizing it.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot on projects that are, bond projects that are currently happening over there. And, with the fields should be going in. They will all be done with the installation by, November 20th. So, they'll start installing the fields a week from now or so, right about then. And, Ryan, the installation, supervisor will be here tomorrow. And we'll go over some final details of where we're at with those fields right now, because we think they're ready. But he gives us a yes or maybe thing. And
Did Ryan say maybe, or did he just say no?
well, Ryan says we can do it anyway. He's really good at what he does. I mean, he figures it out, but it's looking really good.
So the fences are in, all the curbing is in, and it's level with the super special GPS leveler. Yeah, so
Yes.
far, okay, and so then it's turf, rock, turf, and then the dugouts going,
Oh, so turf, rock, turf.
turf, rock.
The very top layer is actually sand.
Mhm.
that allows the turf to slide across and get stable.
Mhm.
So with the turf in, then the backstops go in.
Mm.
And while the backstops are being put in, then the dugouts go in.
Okay.
And when the dugouts are done, then they'll put the fencing all around it, and then we'll put the nets up. Right after that, that's pretty close to that order. It'll happen fast once we get the turf on.
Who's got what done?
Any questions on my activities or anything going on here? So next, just a reminder on activities, we'll all be going to the road show at the end of next week. That'll be a fun one.
Is it the end of next week?
I think
Beginning of Tuesday.
That's right.
I'm like, I am exhausted.
It's the end of this week.
I will not be here at the end of
It's
this.
happening the end of next week. And then we have the convention, but we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Are you going to homecoming? Is that what you were getting at?
Right.
What's going on at the end of next
That's
week?
right, I gotta watch the aerial play.
We're meeting next, at the end of next week.
We are meeting the end of next week. I knew I had something. I mean, there had
I
to be
see you are, have
something.
so much food tonight. All right,
Thank you, sir, for that.
thank you. I don't have, anybody else have any questions for Mike? All right, thanks for the report. And then we're gonna public comment, we're good. All right, it's the unfinished business. We added some things on here for just discussion items. Advocacy, I can't say it, advocacy updates, Lacey.
I don't have anything except that the OSBA roadshow is next Tuesday. That's the next step to hear what OSBA may. I think the intent of the roadshow is to gather from us what concerns and where they can play a role for the next legislature.
Perfect.
So, but it'll be important to go there. I'd like to hear what other districts are wanting to focus on as well.
They will also be presenting what they plan to lobby on.
Yeah, they have some thoughts, but they've at least messaged that those are adjustable. So we'll see.
Is everybody going to the roadshow?
Yes,
I hope to be there.
I hope to be there.
I don't know, COVID's going around. Everybody's dropping like
Really?
flies. Yeah,
Here's the only.
I'm like crossing my
I know.
fingers every time the kid sniffles. Take a step back.
Yeah.
I plan to be there. How about that?
Yeah. Perfect. All right, we also pinned community forums. You had some questions on that, Lacey, last time we talked about Mike.
Oh, is this the potential
Yeah.
around whether there's options to connect with neighbors on a more proactive
Yeah.
basis?
Yeah, so we just kind of put it on there as a discussion item, and I don't know,
Okay.
Mike, if you thought about how that would look, or if something that we just wanna table and talk about. I don't know what it looks like. the
Yeah.
Forum itself.
Yeah, I can look like anything, really, whatever we end up deciding. My starting spot in my mind was whether it's a couple times a school year, we just have an open door with the neighbors, like just advertise with the neighbors. How's the school year going? What are we, like, not for operations, but in terms of how are we as neighbors with you? What are the issues? What are the concerns? To just start the conversation in a different way, rather than waiting for them to bring us a complaint and be responsive. So that was what it was in my mind. We could design anything,
Okay,
or we don't have to do anything if we don't feel like that's a priority for where we want to spend time on.
well, I think it's something that we can think about still, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, sounds like a good idea. Like an open house kind of thing, maybe, I don't know. And then discussion on the strategic plan on funding gaps. And that was,
I think
that's
that's kind
pretty
of,
much what we did, but
well, I think we talked about the idea of taking what's on our strategic plan and identifying what those funding gaps are to help with those conversations. at the
Yeah.
Advocacy level.
Yeah, the first step was get a better understanding of where revenue is coming in so that we understand what drives that. And then the second piece was, we have a strategic plan that the community said this is where they want the school to go. So if we could put price tags on those items, then we would have like, this is the total bill if we were able to deliver what the community wants. Right? It may not be, if I'm just pretending the 16.9 figure that we used was total and not just salaries, it may be 18 million is what we need to deliver what our community wants, then that's the number we want to be able to communicate to say, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
It-
yeah, here.
That's the thing, that what our community is asking, and we're charged with figuring out how to deliver that. So I know ESSER helped us reach a lot more of that, because that was such a big grant for us, but I don't know where that lies. I don't know what we're able to do permanently, what goes away. And for me, it's important, because the times that I've been up in Salem before, legislatures, they want to know the details. Like if you're getting 15 minutes with them, they don't want the same talking points. They want to know the details because it's the only thing that makes sense, right? Like it's, if you think of how we break down the budget, tell me that, like, what does that look like in your school?
Yeah.
Oh, we want a wellness center. And that wellness center is costed at this. Just telling them what the gap is. So the breakdown of that is going to become important. So I think that's the next step.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
In preparing us for the legislature. So whether that would be like November or December,
Okay,
that would depend on staff workload.
all right.
Well, we've been moving in that direction anyway, because as we phase out ESSER, we have brought those costs back into SIA. Because we funded that strategic plan with ESSER. And so we're rolling it back in. And so we'll know the cost gap there.
Yeah, you know, the other interesting part of the story for me is as Chanel highlights all of the grants. And I know that SIA it acts as a grant because you have to reapply. The state school funding is a base assumption, right? Like we can depend on that. The SIA is supposed, am I saying that right, or is there another S that I'm missing? SIA, okay.
That's a fair question.
I think you might forgetting
Can't
an
get all
S.
that, that's right.
It appears to be more stable than a regular grant, even though it's a grant. We have to be able to meet metrics to get it, but we will get it. Am I correct in my understanding of that?
It is, but the funds, so only a certain percentage of the corporate tax comes to schools. Cause it caps,
Sure,
just like our taxes cap, and then
Sure.
we get our rebates and they get their rebate. But it's all on enrollment. And so wherever that SIA, those corporate tax funds cap, then they determine how they're gonna disperse that per student across the state. So if you have a district that's larger, then, if they grow and we shrink, they get more funding per kid. They get more funding to the district because they have more kids. We'll get less. Same with the state schools fund. It's there, but it fluctuates with attendance or enrollment. So.
We saw that this year too with the High School Success Act, did the same.
All the grants that we're getting from the state are really based on student enrollment.
and the assumption that it'll go away, correct? Or are they, I guess this would be a really good point to understand. I assume a grant is finite. It starts and it ends when the objective has been reached. That's been my lifelong understanding of what a grant is. So when the state starts saying grants and we start putting money attached to grants, I'm assuming that at some point they're going to end. And we're gonna have a program that we funded with an indefinite source of money.
Could end if they end the corporate tax or they decide they need to take that corporate. The corporate tax is supposed to be earmarked for state school funding.
Yeah.
But-
So they call it a grant, but it's more like a supplement to the state school fund.
So it feels like. And they do technically, they call it
Yes.
Student Investment Act,
Yeah.
not grants.
So the other grants that you had on your slide, are they more like the traditional grant? We had them for 3 years and then the act ended, something sunsetted, the money went away?
Most of them, yes, but those other federally funded ones such as title and IDEA, kind of the same thing.
Those go on. I think that would be important. That would be important for me to understand which one is more like a supplemental source of income versus a grant. Because I think part of the other conversation I would like to have is, can we get to a point where we can rely on our programs working in year 1 and year 5 and year 10 and not assume that the money's gonna go away? With the word grant, I'm assuming every year we're like, are we gonna get it or are we gonna have to cut this service? And I know the SIA is different, but that would be helpful to be able to distinguish of the grants, which ones are like this, like which ones are ongoing and which ones are finite. Cause I think that's what we need the legislature to start to understand what they're doing to us on this end. Is if you want us to deliver kits, then don't put it into a grant, just give us the money to do it.
So
And
they
I'm just
won't
putting
do-
a statement up there.
They, and it really, I'm not to say that that's not the right thing to do, but advocating for more money into that grant or the SIA Act is really how we get to better funding. Because
Agreed.
they're not gonna move it to a permanent source when they can hold you accountable for every dollar by every quarter of the year that you spend of that grant. About SIA, that's how we get it. We have to report on it every
Agreed.
quarter on all the funds that we receive from them to get reimbursed,
Mhm.
which is.
Yeah.
like, so they're going to put more strings when the governor says accountability.
Yeah.
They're wanting more reporting on general fund dollars, on grant dollars, on assessment. I mean, when they're holding accountability, what they're tying everything to is what are those funds used for? And,
I know, agreed, I don't disagree with any of that, if they wanna put more like ongoing permanent money into SIA and actually get us closer to that quality education model, that would be fantastic. The little tiny pots of all the different grants that we've gotten in order to fund things, wouldn't it be great to not have to do that effort? Like, there's an efficiency for staff, that's another part of the conversation for me.
that's a good one to have. If they're interested, if they would be willing to see it that way, but it works better to them politically to keep everything separated by grants so that they can determine how much it is, or even if it exists, it continues to, once they call it permanent funding, then it's in and they can't control how much of
I
it
get
they
that.
can hold for their other initiatives.
I
So
get
that's, but what we have, we try to capitalize on that. That's how we
I know we do.
advocate, superintendents. Okay, we have an SIA fund. They call it a grant. We call it supplemental fund. We call it survival.
Mm-hmm.
So we need more in that because they aren't changing the formula. They know the formula is a problem. That's why they came up with SIA. They
Yeah,
don't want to change the formula, so they came up with SIA. They came up with SIA and they reduced high school success funds.
Yeah.
And they want to do away with high school success funds and tell you to pay for it out of SIA, but not put those funds in SIA. They want to get rid of it and keep those funds in the coffers.
Mhm.
There's a lot of political stuff that goes on in that budget up there around around school funding, because it is the biggest account that they have that they can use to supplement and other accounts.
Mhm.
Like,
I understand all that. I would love us to get to a point where we have stable funding that we can rely on. And any mechanism they're willing to put that money.
it's so complicated and hard to
Yeah.
hold them accountable because of the way they have things dispersed in that budget for
Yeah.
us.
I also think the reporting requirements get to be a little crazy. I know they keep saying the word accountability. But there's no possible way they actually look at all the information that we send to them.
Nope, we send
Well, I literally, the last time I went up there, Todd sent me up with a list of, like, it was 3 pages of reports. And I remember handing, I don't even remember what legislator it was, handed them something, and they're like, we have no idea where all this information goes. They don't use it, they don't get it. Department of Education, are they looking at it? You can probably put X's in every box on a test report to see if anybody's like, what are you doing, Chanel? Start filling out X's on everything, just to see what happens. Wouldn't that be an interesting sample? Submit, we're done.
I would say all of that money, all of those reports, all of that goes to the governor's cabinet for the budget.
I would challenge anyone on that governor's cabinet, if they actually digest the information, to get to accountability. Now I'm off on a different tangent than funding, and it's reporting. That's been a long-standing issue, because for small districts, it gets overwhelming.
Or at least use machine learning or AI to help make those something
Yeah.
feasible at this stage. And
Very good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
All
done. I'm
Okay,
done.
well, that was fun. Yeah, well, that was all very good information though,
Yeah.
and it's all like very, and it helps like know what our mission is, so I appreciate all of the purposes
I
that people
think-
share, cause
yeah.
I feel like I'm getting information that I don't know, some of it. so.
I think one of our goals this year was advocacy as a group, so I think we've kind of just said, let's leave it as a standing agenda item to have discussion or for
I
Mike
can
to
bring my
share with us.
soapbox questions,
as you
and Mike can
should.
Yeah,
educate
it
us.
doesn't even an entire agenda item.
Yeah, as you should,
It should
because
say advocacy slash, like, no.
Yes. it's,
All of
and
us,
it's
all
get
of
a
us.
year at one point, at least then we'll be able to speak to whatever.
Yeah,
we need.
no.
Well, you know what though, and Chanel and I were talking about this, and Amy as well, this discussion and going into the roadshow and going into the convention, the conference. I mean, it's all this stuff now is going to start filling in the gaps, you know, for you.
Mhm.
And knowing what exactly we need, how we can go about it, because everybody's trying to be unified in their approach to the legislature and
Yeah.
the state school, I think, change.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a good thing. I mean, it's a really good conversation.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for the time on the agenda.
okay, there, we again next month.
Okay, thanks.
All right, on to new business.
Me, okay, so those, Lacey's joined us in the policy committee and Mary and I, so we have read, I don't know, the first 15, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, I'm close. 18 policies and ARs to review. These are posted for review by the board and we will, vote on them next week. The reality is most of them have very minimal changes in them. There's around discrimination, some change in language, not really changing content, to be quite frank. Some of the ARs changed, but I would ask everyone to take a minute to read them before our next session, and then that's when we'll vote on them. And if you have questions, we can discuss those questions.
Perfect, thank you.
Vote on them next week.
I'm sorry, next meeting. I should have said next meeting, not next week.
Yeah,
Just
surprise,
checking.
The weeks and months all run together at this point.
we're gonna start a weekly meeting. Yeah, we're having a hard time. With time, all right, next item is another action item. Yeah.
Excuse me, you need to vote.
Oh, we're gonna-
Post it?
I don't think it was supposed to be an action item though.
Oh,
Oh, we need to
yeah,
vote. Oh, yes,
we
we
need to
did.
vote
We need to
on
vote.
that.
Post.
Sorry.
Yes, we did.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
I missed that part.
I
Okay.
move to post the policies as outlined in the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Okay,
Thank you.
yes, I missed that part because there was.
That was my fault.
You're really fine. I was like, are we not doing that?
That was my fault.
No, you're good.
I move to approve the superintendent goals for 2024-2025.
I'll second that.
All right, do we have any discussion on that? Anybody have any questions?
Like, these aren't adjusted, right? These are the
They're just
same
the same
goals,
goals,
we just
aren't they?
needed to approve them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
All right, so, okay,
Well, so when you say the same, you mean like the same as last year?
Yeah,
The goals, the actions, superintendent actions are different. For example, on goal 1, superintendent action, develop and implement a vision for equity and inclusion for staff and students. That will be a vision that we're gonna bring in to, accommodate the law of the equity committee, district equity committee that will be formed in 25, 26. So that's, it calls for a vision of its own. And then, yeah, so like the superintendent actions, the goals are the main goals
Yeah.
of the district, and then the actions change.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, all in favor? Right, motion carries. All right, next item.
I move to approve the Lane County School Transit. Lane County School District Transit dollar request for 2024-2025. 1 second.
All right, any discussion on?
Which box are we choosing?
Yeah.
Okay,
The not to exceed
yeah,
between 50 and 100?
not to exceed 50%.
Okay,
That keeps us in the consortium, so
okay,
that we receive funding from other districts for our programs. And that exceeds about $250,000 that we receive from Lane County school districts that we would have to pay, that we don't have, and that's mainly for our life skills program. So we let them keep the 51% of our transit dollars, and that pays for our, getting, if you will, to get into the consortium so that the other districts can support our SPED program.
great.
All right, all in favor? Right, motion carries.
I move to approve the 1-year postponement of the health adoption.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
This sounds like it's just extra coverage, but we're still likely gonna have the health adoption. Okay, thank you.
Right. All right, all in favor? Right, motion carries. Next item. Is a discussion item. You don't have to make an action, but Candace doesn't have to say anything at the time. All right, this is the Division 22 standards. Mike, is this you?
Yeah, so that's the state of Oregon Division 22 standards. The Division 22 standards are the state's oversight of public education. And that's their oversight that ensures that we, every school district, are implementing state laws and policies for public education. So each year, superintendents are required to report to their school boards by November 1, the status of compliance with the Division 22 standards. After the report is presented to you, the board, it will then be posted on our district website for the community to observe, and then I will submit the final report to ODE by November 15th. My report to you is that that it states that the Creswell School District is in compliance with the Division 22 standards for the 23-24 school year. It's always for the year prior to where we actually take the action, because it's an audit by the state.
Is this what we post on the website, on our website?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, so like the adoptions that we've made to be in compliance with math, science, and soon to be health, and all the other policies and laws that they put in place are under the Division 22. And, I mean, there are somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 items in Division 22 direct.
Should be the Division 300 standards, so.
They're directives from ODE for us.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. Next discussion item, OSBA Legislative Road Show. And we kind of already discussed it, so. Lacey thinks she'll be there, which is kidding. Mike's gonna be there on Friday, but it's on Tuesday. You know? I'm glad we are discussing it now. All right, our next item for discussion is the annual convention, which is in November, and I know that Marilyn wanted to make sure everybody got their confirmation.
Yes, did you all receive the ticket?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And I've also reserved rooms. Sweet. So I'll bring that information, your confirmation numbers and everything to the next meeting.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you for doing that
Yeah,
for
thanks.
us.
It did come through a weird,
I know.
I thought I had our next
Yeah.
meeting, and then I looked at my mouse and I was like, I can't find it, so she didn't tell me.
Isn't our next meeting like November 15th or something?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's the following week.
Well, I'll send it to you. Yeah, I'll email it to you. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay, oh, we're all the way down to trustee reports. That last part went fast. Mike, you have anything?
Couple things. Uh, Mike and I and Lacey and Lance did the chains on a couple games, which was really fun. The coaches this year are actually minding their manners. There's no,
Oh, man.
The other one.
No fun.
Gotta figure that out. The other guy.
let's just say questionable language and other things and,
Let's
some
talk
of
about
those,
questionable refing.
they were a good crew. Other than that, one field judge was pretty handy, but. And then we went on the tour for the schools with the dinner. That was really, really well done.
It was.
I really appreciate that. And I learned a lot of good food. It was a great trip. And Mike's given me a couple of tours on the fields as they're getting leveled out and stuff. That looks just awesome.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see that. I'm not going to play on it, but I feel like.
Well, we could go out there. We have a board retreat and play a little baseball. I don't know. T-ball. I feel like T-ball would be safer. Good ball.
The only way I'm hitting the ball.
Yeah. All right.
But that's about it.
Sarah, do you have anything?
I don't know. That's not true. I watched 2 volleyball games and I can confidently say they are not for me. It's too loud. What? It's too loud.
In the gym.
It's too loud in the gym.
Is it louder than?
Is it louder now than the walkers?
Also, our student, I mean, it could be the student section I was sitting next to. It was
Oh, yeah, you
all
have to-
rails.
Move along. You can't sit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we start for.
Congratulations.
You're winning. You were apparently, you were winning. Good job. Good job. Have fun.
Oh my gosh, I was like, it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've just been doing some football things.
Tour.
You did.
And I did the tour.
Yeah.
And I got to witness Mike putting his footprint in the fresh concrete on accident.
On a different tour.
On a different tour. I was kindly asked to organize the football team's homecoming float. I'm gonna change my phone number soon, Candace. It's not, he's not my phone. I don't know, I think my favorite parts of the week are game days because Logan has a group of them that pile into the car and they all come home. And I bake cookies for them before I pick them up. And I feed them pregame dinner and I take them back and drop them off and they get to be loud and crazy with them. I think that, just football.
Like, did you have anything?
As Mike said, I helped with the chain gang, was on the bond tour. I read with kindergartners every Friday morning. I picked up a couple middle school football games as well. So I think that's it.
Is there opportunity to participate like with reading with kindergartners on Friday mornings?
Do you have anything?
So I read,
Oh,
hold on,
sorry.
hold on one
Sorry.
second. I'll do my
Okay,
advertisement.
that's fine.
So I read with IRC, which is a group of volunteers that come in and they have all kinds of shifts. So if Friday morning is the only morning that works with you, you tell them that and they'll put you in a classroom. If you want to do it on Wednesday morning, they'll coordinate whatever time you want to give and it'll be weekly.
Who do I need to contact?
I will, that we have 3 coordinators. I will get you right after the meeting. I'll get you the numbers.
And the application's on the website. But you have to print it out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can just do that.
Okay.
Alright, Ken, do you have anything?
you missed one.
No, we talked while you were talking. Sorry.
I was doing my advertisement for IRC.
I know, it's good.
Anybody wants to read with K through 3,
No.
we can get
And you have to do it like, now I'm gonna go back to that. You have to give that Friday every Friday, right? You have to be available every single Friday.
So you'll tell them what you can do and they will rely on you on a weekly basis for that time. they have a whole subsystem, so if I have a work
okay.
time where I have to do interviews or something,
Could I be a sub?
you can be a sub.
See, that would be where I'd be best.
You can be a sub.
An alternate.
They need subs, they need
I'm very
1 hour
familiar with kindergarten.
people, they need 2 hour people, they'll take any time that you can give.
Well, I'm very popular at kindergarten.
I don't go to our kindergarten. I have Annalise for my
I am the
kindergarten.
king of the school.
You are. Never proud.
No, that's what they say.
That's how they understand authority, right?
Yeah.
That-
Yeah, you should get one.
That's where the king of the
I know,
school
yeah.
is in my room right
I'm gonna get you a burger. I'm gonna go to Burger King and get you a crown.
Oh, they would love it.
I know, I'm doing it. It's on my list of to-dos. Crown for my.
What about
his captainship? Yeah, they would like my crown better. I'm on it.
I also have gone to some football games. I am a second half girly though lately, so I tend to come to the second half. Yeah, and then went to a couple volleyball games, although I love to watch volleyball, so.
I think it's because I don't understand it. I've never watched it. I don't like this.
That's fair. I did make it to a girls soccer game this year, which I hadn't been to in a while, so that was nice. The bond tour, leadership, policy committee. I think that's it.
By the time it gets to me, I did some of those things. I did the bond tour and leadership. That's what I had this month. So,
Any feedback on the bond tour? Because we're gonna be preparing. for
all
that one
positive
in the
feedback.
spring.
Excellent.
Excellent. That was so great.
Have the bleachers been moved forward?
No, they have not.
Oh my gosh.
I have some questions. I have some follow-up questions to this bond tour.
Oh,
In the 4th grade hallway, the hallway that we went down,
this one, that was
So behind us.
the girls' bathroom, did the light switch get replaced yet?
The lights are, actually automatic.
No, the light switch, the plate
Oh,
hasn't been hole in it that a child could stick their finger in.
I have not seen a request on it, so I wasn't aware of that, but I would assume, I don't know.
I would hope my 4th grade, they know how to put their finger in the light socket.
Well, you would hope so, but prevention is key here.
and pencils, if you have anything in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked about these things a week ago, come on, no, I'm kidding.
Get access to the,
Yeah,
ticket.
Even though we give Sarah access to the work orders.
Next time, Need to have something they can scan so they can leave their notes in there and send them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Punch list, we do blue tape, give me some blue tape.
You probably
Careful what you ask
No,
for.
we're taking it a little too far. We'll tell Sarah the wrong night next time. Kidding.
If you said that night, I missed it, but
I missed that, right?
No, I think it was a back conversation. I heard it. We were in the back. It was Amy and Sarah and I. Yeah, when you were in the front meeting. we
I was
were-
afraid,
we were the
I was afraid I wouldn't be invited to any more tours if I kept pointing.
Well, I'll take a look at it right now.
Yeah. It's submitted. Yeah. Okay.
Mike?
I got a question for you. Would it make sense after you get the softball and baseball field turf on, get that set up to bring a few, like the mayor and a few of the city fathers around and show them a tour where all that money's gone, because especially the ones that helped us get that bond passed. Or maybe have
Well, we'll have a-
open house or something so that they can see where that money's.
We'll have a hot dog, hamburger, ribbon cutting thing going on there, the whole deal.
Yeah, I think that would be, keep everybody posted on what we're up to. I think that'd be really good.
All right, any more questions? I mean, Sarah would like to discuss the movement of bleachers, but I think that's more.
I'm out.
All right, I'm gonna call our meeting, we will be back together again, well, we'll see each other. Whenever, we'll be back.